What's going on, guys? It's Taicowhite here for Team Cardfight United, and today I'm going to be bringing you the one and only Bippys Giraffa deck. He was going to do the deck profile, but then he decided that he didn't want to. So now I'm just going to do it for him. You can all boo him in the comments. Alright, so obviously starting off, we have your main grade 3, which is the Giraffa grade 3. And basically what he does is whenever you attack, you can CB1 and shove something to soul, and your opponent has to call 2 of their cards from their hand to rear guard. It doesn't specify open or anything like that, so if they don't have any open rear guards, they're still having to call over things. And those units are called as rest and don't get to stand during the next stand phase. So it's like a pseudo stun, like the old school megas. Which is also, it's just really nice because you're forcing them to A, eventually start calling over units, B, not get some of their on-play skills, and obviously their hand is getting smaller. And to take advantage of that small hand, Giraffa is also going to be getting +5 for every different card with Giraffa in its card name in its soul. So once you get the grade 1, 2, and 3 in there, he's getting an extra 15,000 power and a critical, which is just stupid good. He just hits real hard. We're going to use a couple other cards that are going to take advantage of the small hand size. Starting with Dovespid. Or Dovespid, his name's Funky. But basically what he does is on place, Vanguard or rear guard, you just CB1, mill 2 cards from your opponent deck, and then if a grade 1 or greater was put into the drop this way, then whenever they would go to guard his attack, they have to drop 2 or more. So basically he just gets Battle Door skill, which is always good, especially when you're already taking more and more cards out of their hand. Then another card that's going to also just absolutely love not letting them do that is your boy right here, Stagger 7. Stagger 7 is a really funky card. But in this specific deck, I think he works really well. Basically, whenever he attacks, if all fighters' units are rested, so everything on the board has to be rested, so your opponent can play around it, but usually like you're not going to let them see this until you call it to use it. You counterblast 1, he goes plus 20k, which is just fat. That's a 32k beat stick. It's already fat. And then you can Soul Blast 2 grade 3s, sorry, whenever he attacks also, to make your opponent drop another card from their hand, which is the 3rd card you're probably going to have them drop that turn. And then they can only guard with cards for this battle that are the same grade as the card they just dropped. So that is going to make things really awkward for your opponent, and a lot of times if you end up using this, it's going to become unguardable. The good thing about this is that Soul Blast 3 cost, or Soul Blast 2 grade 3 cost, isn't really a big deal anymore, because we already are running, I think, 10 grade 3s, and then once we get to grade 1s later, we have Gentleman, who counts as some more grade 3s, and we have Giraffa and 2 other cards to shove things into Soul, so we can actually hit that 2 grade 3s in Soul really quick. And that is really nice, because his skill will absolutely win you a game when you get him off. And next up, we have a really good card, which is the grade 2 for Giraffa. He has a Vanguard rear guard skill. Whenever he attacks, you can counterblast, and he gets +5 for all of your opponent's rested rear guards, which towards the end of the game, they're gonna have 5 because you keep forcing them to call more. And so it's gonna be 25k. And if they have 1 or less stood rear guards, you draw a card, which is just really good draw power, because you're gonna be reusing this, because everyone knows Mega Colony has too much countercharge. They do not care about counterblast at all. And the other really good thing about it is this ability is just kind of niche a little bit. Your opponent's probably going to forget about it, because a lot of their guarding is going to come down to whether or not they have the interceptors for it. But this guy actually prevents intercepting or moving of rear guards in the same column as him, just for him just being there, which is really nice, because they could be 5k short for something and go to just use their interceptor real quick, and he says no, which is really nice. Yeah, this is a really good card. And honestly, it's just kind of absurd. Next up, we have Megalorancer. Personally, I've never been much of a fan of Megalorancer, but in this specific deck, I do like him a lot. He's just got an on-attack skill for attacking a Vanguard. He's going to get +2 for all of your opponent's rest rear guards. So that's usually, like I said, going to be 5. They're usually going to have 5 rest rear guards once you guys have both been on grade 3 for a second. So he's going to get just a free +10. And free +10s are nice. There's no negative to come with that. He's just sitting there at 19 for free. But then the other cost, this is one of the cards I told you would shove grade 3s to soul for you, is you can stick a card into your soul from your rear guard, and then your opponent can't intercept it all that turn. So even if you don't have out grade 2 Giraffa, you're still going to be able to get no intercepts. But this time, instead of just the one in front of it, it blocks all intercepting, which actually can come in really clutch against certain decks, because there are a few decks now that can like intercept from the back row and do some funky stuff like that. Or even like Excel decks with their like bunches of interceptors, or ghosties with their big boys. Either way, he's just really, really good in this deck. And last grade 2 is the one that if you don't run a Mega Colony deck, you're probably wrong, and that's Machining Mantis. He's gonna be grabbing some of those grade 3s that we need. We only really have the space for 2 right now. That might be like something you can change, but as of right now, 2 is just what fit. Basically, Vanguard rear guard, counter +1, check top 6 for a grade 3, put it in your hand, and he gets +6. So he gets decently big, and you're not having to drop something to do this, but it is a counter blast. Either way, though, it is really nice. And then onto the grade 1s, we have, once again, another fantastic card. All 3 of the Giraffas that came out in this set are just really, really good. This one is no exception. On place, Vanguard, you can drop any normal unit from your hand and search your deck for up to 1 card with Giraffa in its card name that's the same grade, and put it into your hand and shuffle. Which basically means whenever you ride him, you can like fix your ride target. So say you only have the grade 3 or the grade 2, you can drop a random grade 3 or 2 you have in your hand to go search for the one you need, which is really, really good. So the main thing you're looking for in your opening hand is this Giraffa. The other skill he has, which is really nice, is whenever you place him, you can Soul Blast 2 to draw a card, but that cost is reduced by 1 for every rest unit in the same column as him. When most of the time, like we talked about, your opponent's gonna have 5 rest units. So as long as you call it here or here, is it rear guard or unit? I should check. Rear guard. So as long as you call it here or here, you're most likely gonna pay nothing for that cost because it's gonna be reduced by 2 Soul Blasts, and then it's just a free draw. So on place, draw 1, no cost. So good. This deck does so much stuff for basically free. It's ridiculous. Speaking of free, we're getting into the 2 cards that make half this crap free. First one being Butterfly Officer. Obviously, if you know Megas are, you know what this is. It's one of the best cards in Megas. Just on place, rest it, pick something +10, and then shove that thing to soul, countercharge. This is another thing that's going to A, get you more counterblast for Giraffa or the grade 2 Giraffa or something to that effect. And B, it's also just going to be shoving more grade 3s to soul. The more grade 3s you have in soul, the more you can use Stagger 7. Stagger 7, so good if you use them right. The other thing is your opponent might try to, once they figure out you have him, they might try to counterplay you by having things that aren't rested, specifically so that like your ability is not going to go off. But the good thing about that is that means A, they're not boosting something, most likely, because it's most likely going to be a back row thing. They're not boosting something that's saving you cards in your hand. You're in no rush to have to use Stagger 7. B, whenever you use Giraffa's skill to call things as rest, they're gonna have to avoid calling over that card, which is probably just a card they threw out for no reason, and call over other things that they probably need. So even if they are playing around you, it's only hurting them in the long run. So obviously, Butterfly Officer, it's Mega Colony, you run Butterfly Officer. Speaking of Mega Colony and you run it, High Class Moth. Deck and Soul, it's a grade 3, means it's a target for A, your grade 3 searchers, and B, the things you're shoving to soul. Just obviously really good, more Stagger 7, nice. You can also rest in and put a normal unit from drop zone to the bottom of your deck to countercharge 1, pick one of your opponent's rear guards, and it can't intercept at the end of the turn. Which is, like I said earlier, it's really good. That 5k will matter. Absolutely gotta matter. They're not gonna think it is like, no intercept on this one thing, darn, who cares? But I promise you it matters. Next, the last card besides triggers is obviously there's Little Dorcas. He's just gonna be there for grade 3 searching. He will get 5k if they have no stood rear guards, which is most likely what's gonna happen. So he's nice. He has one of the easier to get little 5k buffs. Now into triggers, we have 3 Heal Guardians. I'm sure you guys know what they are. If not, just know that they made V really good. And Premium, I think, got helped out a lot by that too. We're running for our Sentinels, 2 draw PGs and 2 crit Sentinels. And then I believe everything else is just a crit. You don't really need any draw triggers besides the 2 that you have in your PGs, just because of the fact that both of the grade 1 and 2 Giraffa are going to be drawing you cards, which is super nice. All right, guys. Well, this has been Bippys Giraffa deck, which is, in my opinion, a really, really good deck. It's probably the best deck in Mega Colony now, and we'll hopefully get a game for you soon. In the game that we'll play, I'm sure he will pilot it. Just remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.